Good evening, councillors and officers, and to those who may be watching online, welcome to the August Council meeting of Corangamite Shire Council. I'll begin with the prayer. We ask for guidance and blessing on this council. May the true needs and well-being of our communities be of our concern. Help us who serve as leaders to remember that all our decisions are made in the best interests of the people, culture and the environment of Corangamite Shire. Amen. Welcome, acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land around Corangamite Shire, the Eastern Maar and Wadawurrung people. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal elders and peoples past and present. I'd just like to introduce staff and councillors who we have around the table this evening. To my left is Deputy Mayor Geraldine Kennedy, Councillor Joe Beard, Councillor Jamie Vogels. To my right, Councillor Kate Macon, Councillor Laurie Hickey and Councillor Nick Cole. Our CEO, Mr David Ray, and to my left, Ms Brooke Love, Director of Works and Services, Mrs Justine Linley, Director of Sustainability and Development. To my right, Mr David Harrington, Director of Corporate and Community Services, Mrs Brooke Walsh, Manager of Finance. It's great to have Brooke here for her very first meeting, so welcome Brooke. And Director of Planning and Building, Mr Aaron Moyne. Mr CEO, we have no apologies this evening. Is there any declarations of conflict of interest?
Madam Mayor, there's been a declaration received from yourself in regarding to item 8.1.
Thank you. Councillors, the minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of July have been circulated. Are there any comments, questions on the minutes? If not, would someone like to move those, please? Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Thanks, Councillor Macon. If there's nothing further, all in favour? Carried. We have no deputations this evening, Mr Ray, and no committee reports. Item 8, we're moving straight into planning reports. Item 8.1, I have, as Mr Ray's just mentioned, a conflict of interest in this item, so I'll ask Deputy Mayor Kennedy to take the chair for this item, please.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. We have item 8.1, planning permit application PP 2022/061, use and development of land for a dwelling, removal of native vegetation and creation of access to a road in Transport Zone 2, Great Ocean Road, Princetown. This item is going to be presented by Mr Aaron Moyne. Mr Moyne.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I present Council with this report for planning permit application PP 2022-061. The application seeks approval for the use and development of land for dwelling, removal of native vegetation and creation of access to the Great Ocean Road. Planning assessment has been undertaken and the application is not supported. The use and development of land for dwelling does not provide an acceptable response to planning policy, which specifically seeks to prevent rural residential and ribbon development in this area, along with the provisions of the Rural Conservation Zone Schedule 1. The recommendation is provided before you that Council issue a notice of decision to refuse to grant a permit based on the application as presented.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Councillors, there's a recommendation before you. Do I have a mover? Mr Vogels.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to move an alternate motion, and the alternate motion would be the Council, having received and considered a written request on behalf of the landholder, resolved to defer making the decision on the planning permit application PP 2022/061 to provide an opportunity for the application to be amended, noting that any amended application will be subject to further review and planning assessment in accordance with the Planning and Environmental Act 1987 and the Corangamite Planning Scheme. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Is there a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Macon, would you... Thank you for that second. Councillor Vogels, would you like to speak to your motion further? Or?
No, nothing really to add. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The proponents asked for a deferral and I think that's fine by me to grant that.
And are there any questions on Councillor Vogels' motion? No questions? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Carried. Thank you, councillors.
Thanks, Councillor Kennedy. Councillors, we'll move on to the finance report, item 9.1, finance report for June 2023. Mrs Walsh, please.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. This report informs Council of the provisional financial result for the 22-23 year and the provisional financial position of Council at 30th of June 2023. This report also seeks approval to changes to the current year adopted budget for carried forward budget items that have not yet been completed during the 22-23 financial year, and an allowance of up to $500,000 to assist in the delivery of the 23-24 program. The results of the previous financial year, adjusted for carried forwards, is $2.93 million favourable to forecast. At a high level, there was $2.54 million in additional income and $0.39 million in expenditure savings, and these are provided in more details in the report. The report also proposes that Council approves carry forwards of $37.01 million. These are detailed in the report to councillors. The total amount is a significant value, but given the challenges that Council experienced in the delivery of the programs, which included the lack of availability of materials, contractors, weather conditions and staff recruitment and retention, the carry forward amount is not unexpected. Some of these carry forwards also relate to the delivery of multi-year projects. The impacts of the carry forwards on the current year budget is not detrimental, with a forecast unrestricted cash of $12.53 million expected at 30th of June 2023. The unrestricted cash measures is important as it enhances the 24-25 starting budget position and provides a buffer for the future unexpected costs. Madam Mayor, the recommendations are before you.
Thank you, Mrs Walsh. Councillors, there's a recommendation. Would someone like to move the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Beard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Beard.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, and thanks to the finance team led by Mrs Walsh and our director, Mr Harrington. We've briefed on this, and it's pretty, I think it's honourable of this council, even though we have got such carry forwards. It's a reflection of the organisation. I think that the challenges that we, just like every other, I guess, organisation out in society, are facing around being able to deliver, significant projects for whatever reason that's been. And we've had so many silver linings because of COVID, but there's also been those challenges in being able to deliver the workload that we've actually had. I think the fact that we've identified that we need to put in positions to help make sure those works we don't want to keep carry forwards happening for too long, and particularly at that significant amount. Although it's healthy, it can also be unhealthy, but I think the fact that we're identifying to the organisation that we're going to support getting those works done to help where we can is a testament to this organisation. And I think I did say that it can be healthy, it can also be unhealthy, but ideally, to anyone out there that's listening, these projects are identified, they are happening if they haven't already, and they are going to happen. So it's not like it's just money that's just sitting there. It's just a lot of it's timing and the ability to actually deliver the workload. So I think we shouldn't be too disappointed about carry forwards. We can look at it in a positive light, which I think we've certainly taken that outlook, I believe, as a council. And I do sincerely thank the finance team for managing it the way they have, because every department has had their challenges. So to bring it to the table and reflect it the way it has, I think we should actually be really proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor. This is indeed a detailed report for the end of 2023. The alarming thing was, of course, the carry forward of $37 million. But having delved into that, it is very obvious that the works are still in the pipeline. The supply of contractors, materials and the like to complete those works is something that is ongoing. Anybody who's done any private work at home would understand the difficulty is of getting people to come and tradies to come and work with you. So it's not unexpected that a large organisation like our Shire would have such a carry forward. So yes, I am happy to accept the report and very happy to second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, are there any further comments? Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add a little something to part 4 of that recommendation for the amount of $500,000 to assist in the delivery of the 2023-24 program. I actually really think that's actually a great opportunity for us to look at sort of enhancing our procurement and our program delivery, because program delivery is just so important. Councillor Beard spoke to the carry forwards, and that we don't really want to have carry forwards for longer than necessary. But if we can sort of put some money towards helping to get our program delivery enhanced, I think that's an enablement factor, and I think that's really important. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Kennedy. Councillors? Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think as well, just like adding on to that, I think a lot of our carry forwards too are from, we've had the funding for multi-year projects, so inevitably they get carried forward as they take many years to do. So also, thanks to the finance team for handling all this in a appropriate manner. So we're under control in my eyes, so it's good.
Thanks, Councillor Vogels. And I guess we can't forget too that the 2023-24 allocation of the financial assistance grants from the federal government, which we are incredibly grateful for, were paid in full prior to the 30th of June. So that amount of $9.6 million gets carried forward, but that's really for work that's going to be carried out this year. So excellent. Is there anything further, councillors? I'll move this to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.2 is the Local Government Performance Indicators Report for the 12-month period ending 30th of June 2023. These are provisional results. Mr Harrington, could you introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. This report presents the provisional 2022-2023 performance report under the Local Government Performance Reporting Framework. This is a mandatory system of reporting to ensure that all councils are measuring and reporting their performance in a consistent manner. Council's performance is generally positive in respect to the service performance indicators, with comments provided for major movements. Results are also generally favourable amongst financial performance and sustainability indicators. Council continues to be fully compliant with its governance requirements as reflected in the Governance and Management Checklist. Following final confirmation from Local Government Victoria, the results will be published to the public. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thanks, Mr Harrington. Councillors, someone like to move the recommendation? Nobody? Thank you, Councillor Macon. Thanks. Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. I was just writing notes, so my apologies.
That's all right.
Yes, as Mr Harrington spoke, it's been relatively positive, and as we've seen on the indicators, that where it's been a little bit negative is the issues of staffing, having the staffing to support the staff that we have on board already, and getting the work completed in a timely manner is the issue of not having the full suite of staff in that in those areas. And also the cost of materials have risen, which also have mean that there's been delays and timeframes have gone out, and the cost of everything has gone up as well. But ultimately, overall, we all should be very happy and positive of what we are achieving as a council. We do really achieve quite high above all expectations, and everyone should be congratulated for what they've achieved. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillor Beard, do you have anything?
Nothing further, right?
Nothing further. Councillors, any more questions, comments? All in favour? Carried. Item 9.3 is the Disability Discrimination Policy Review. Mr Harrington, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. This report relates to the proposed update of the Disability Discrimination Policy. The policy provides guidance on how Council will meet the requirements of the Disabilities Discrimination Act and the Local Government Act. Council is committed to providing an inclusive and accessible community where all people, including people with a disability, can be active, socially connected and have access to facilities, activities and services within the community. The policy has been reviewed with minor changes which reference to the Municipal Health and Wellbeing Plan and the Disability Access and Inclusion Plan. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Harrington. Councillors, there's a recommendation to revoke the previous policy and adopt the new one. Someone like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cole, thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, this is a very, very important document demonstrating how we aim to be as inclusive as a shire, and this policy does state exactly those intentions. The changes are very minimal, but it does reflect an updating of the policy. So I'm very happy to move this recommendation. Thank
you, Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Councillor Hickey said, these sorts of things are positive and much needed, and this one's just being a small update to a few things, but those things are very important to a lot of people, access to buildings and things like that, so no problems. Recommend.
Thank you. Anything further, councillors? Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and it's probably remiss of me not to say anything as someone who's living with a disability myself, so I'm really proud of the organisation, particularly led by council, but the entire organisation in terms of how far we've come, just even in the, I think, 13 years that I've been on council, and how we have such a high regard now for an inclusiveness around our community and incorporating people of all abilities into all decision making that we provide. So I think it's important that I think we call that out, because it is something that we should be proud of. You know, that we are getting better at understanding the barriers to all participation across our community, and for what that means for people, especially like me, who are living with a disability. The fact that we're becoming inclusive wherever we can be is only a benefit to everybody and makes our communities as good as they can be. And I think it makes us become somewhere that people want to come and live, because they know that there's no discrimination. And I think we're actually walking the talk. So I'm really proud of the organisation for making the changes to the policy as we need to, not because it's legislated, but because we want to. So thank you.
Thank you. And someone in my house who has a disability, and I certainly appreciate this policy and the changes that have been made certainly make the policy stronger. So well done to your team, Mr Harrington. There's nothing further. All those in favour? Carried. Item 9.4 is the Social Inclusion Policy Review. Thanks, Mr Harrington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. This report relates to the proposed update of the Social Inclusion Policy. The policy aims to ensure opportunity for people to participate fully in economic and community life, form and foster healthy, meaningful relationships, be heard and treated with dignity and respect. The policy has been reviewed with minor changes which include references to the Municipal Health and Wellbeing Plan and defining intersectionality in recognition of the cumulative impacts of structural disadvantage. Mayor, the recommendation is before you. Thanks, Mr Harrington.
Councillors, recommendation to revoke the previous policy in 2020 and adopt the new policy. Someone like to move? Thank you, Councillor Canady. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Canady. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This policy is aligned with the Council's Disability Access and Inclusion Plan, but I think something that's really important about it is it's a whole of community policy, because it's something that's going out to so that our community is complete. And I like it's got a focus on inclusion in community life, enabling opportunities and participation, strengthening the community wellbeing, and reducing the causes of disadvantage. And that's something that we all should be striving to do within our communities, because it just makes us all happier and more whole. So I support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Yes, very happy to second this motion, because of course this social inclusion policy does demonstrate our commitment to the inclusion of everybody within our shire. So very happy to move this amendment or this update.
Thank you. Anything further, councillors? All in favour? Carried. Item 9.5, the Public Interest Disclosure Policy Review. Mr Harrington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. This report relates to the proposed update of the Public Interest Disclosure Policy. This policy aims to ensure Council continues to meet its requirements under the Public Interest Disclosure Act. The Act also requires Council to have a clear procedure which is to be made available to the public. This procedure has been included in the Council documents. The policy has been reviewed, resulting in changes which include the introduction of mandatory reporting obligations for the CEO, a revised definition of improper conduct, and the introduction of misdirected disclosures. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Harrington. Councillors, obviously all our policies are very important, but this is certainly a very important policy. So if someone would like to move to revoke the previous policy. Thank you, Councillor Beard. Thanks, Councillor Kennedy, to second. Councillor Beard.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, and I'm hoping you'll actually add some commentary to this, knowing your interest in this space as well from a MAV perspective. But I think if ever there's been a highlight or a spotlight, I think, on us as a, I don't know if you want to call us an industry, what would you call us? A sector, that's a better word, a sector, and around how we operate, and particularly around the rights of the public and I guess in how they scrutinise us, with the handing down recently of the Sandon report, which I know you've read from front to back there. But I think this is an important document because it gives, I think, clarity, but also that assurity to our community that if they are going to make a disclosure, that it's handled in the appropriate manner and that they actually have rights. And I think, you know, the rights are clearly outlined through legislation, but, you know, the fact that we have a significant document locally that's, you know, that's for the public's benefit, but more importantly ours as an organisation. So it's pretty clear, pretty concise around the do's and the don'ts and what will occur, and I think it should be really, I think if the public were to read this, if they had any interest in it, they should be assured that that they would be certainly looked upon in a worthy manner. So it is an operational document pretty much, but it is something that's really important, as I said, quite topical at the moment, as you know.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor. Not too much more to add. Thank you, Councillor Beard, for that eloquent speech. But yeah, it certainly is a policy that's of a more serious nature than some others, because, you know, public interest disclosure is a serious thing if someone feels that they need to make a report of that kind, and, you know, this policy deals with the management of that type of disclosure and the welfare of the persons involved, and it certainly is an important matter in this sector, and yeah, we certainly need to be sure that we're all over the legislative obligations and that this is handled properly. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy, and I think you and Councillor Beard have summed it up pretty aptly in saying that, you know, what this policy says. And for those that aren't aware of what public interest disclosures are, it's the old Whistleblowers Act, so it's very similar, but what it does say is that we don't tolerate improper conduct by our officers, and encourage employees or members of the public who suspect that there has been improper conduct to be rest assured they can come forward and have their issues listened to. So, councillors, if there's nothing further on this item, can I put it to a vote? All in favour? Carried. Thank you. 9.6 is the Gender Equality Action Plan report card. Thank you, Mrs Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Gender Equality Act 2020 commenced on the 31st of March 2021. Council, as a defined entity, is required under the Act to submit a Gender Equality Action Plan to the Gender Equality Commission. The plan must include the results of a workplace gender audit, plus strategies and measures to improve gender equality in the workplace based on the results of that audit. In 2021, a Gender Equality Action Group comprising officers from across the organisation was formed to assist in the preparation and implementation of our first Gender Equality Action Plan. The plan, which covers a 4-year period, was noted by Council at its meeting on the 22nd of March last year and submitted to the Gender Equality Commissioner as required by the Act. And while the plan is for the workforce of the Corangamite Shire Council as an organisation, it is acknowledged that many of the actions and strategies do have influence in the broader community. As good practice and good governance, a voluntary report card has been prepared to provide Council with a summary of the actions implemented so far and their impact in the first year of the plan. That report card is attached in the Council agenda. In developing the plan, the importance of promoting and fostering an environment where all women, men and gender diverse people are acknowledged, celebrated, recognised and supported to succeed is accepted as a given. Moving beyond words and good intentions to meaningful actions that are resourced appropriately so we can meet our objectives underpins the actions in the plan. The plan takes into account the specific circumstances at Corangamite and seeks to address the issues raised in the data and by staff. This includes reviewing and improving our employment practices, encouraging employment of all genders in non-traditional roles, providing leadership training for women and advocating for state and federal government to adequately fund services that employ people in support and service roles such as early years. In this first year of implementation, 20 actions have been undertaken and work has commenced on Year 2 activities. This is largely due to the hard work of the volunteer staff members involved in the Gender Equality Action Group. It's proposed that councillors note the progress report and the progress made towards the implementation of the plan. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Limley. Councillors, someone happy to move the recommendation? Thanks, Councillor Hickey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Canady, thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is a 4-year plan that's been undertaken. It's very much a work in progress, but I think the plan basically reflects the greater community's values as far as gender equality goes, and I think this is a very, very good report. And yes, as I said, whilst it's work in progress, I think we're on a very good, making very good grounds into the area of gender equality. So I'm very happy to move this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this speaks to our council plan values of teamwork, integrity and respect. And I'm really proud that already 20 actions in the first year have been undertaken. And I think it just shows that how committed the organisation is to implementing the actions of the GEAP. But I think more so it's just caring for the people in our organisation, knowing that they're our greatest asset, because if people are happy in their environment, I think that's part of this plan, is creating a happy, inclusive environment, you know, where people come to work and they want to be here. And, you know, that certainly leads to better productivity and you know, all sorts of benefits because of a happy workplace. So I'm really pleased with this report and what's been done so far to make sure that everyone's inclusive in this organisation.
Thanks, Councillor Canadian. Councillors, anything further? I'll put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.7 is the proposed lease for the Cobden Racecourse Reserve to Progressing Cobden. Ms Love, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, councillors, this report is to consider the lease agreement with Progressing Cobden for the parcel of land at the Cobden Racecourse Reserve that's been utilised for the operation of the Dairy Theme Pioneer Park. The proposed agreement is for a 5-year term with an option for a 5-year term, and the recommendation is before you.
Thank you. Councillors, someone happy to move the recommendation? Councillor Macon, seconded by Councillor Beard. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Beard and I were just having a little discussion as to who was going to move this one. As we know, the aim of the Cobden Pioneer Park is to preserve the history of the Cobden and HB regions, which has a strong link to the dairy, timber and general agriculture industries. It was established in 1988, and the Cobden Pioneer Club has accumulated a collection of buildings and historic artefacts. And it's really important to help the younger generation coming through to inform them what our fathers and grandfathers went through as on a farming land and how they've managed to farm the lands and everything else. So it's a really important education tool, and I'm really pleased that we are continuing with this lease with them. It's just a really important piece of a building and history telling, and somewhere where people can go and learn about how we formed as a dairy community. So it's really important to the Cobden community and the wider community. So more than happy to support the recommendation. Thank you, Madam
Thanks,
Mayor.
Councillor Macon. Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you. And yeah, completely agree with everything that Councillor Macon has just alluded to. And I think for us personally, we both have an attachment to the dairy theme park, knowing what our ancestors have gone through within the region, and it really is reflected at the dairy theme park. We're really lucky to have such, I guess, a place locally that people can go and see the history of what's happened locally. And I think more and more people are appreciating that as the years go by, as they learn and rediscover how our area became the area that it is, and how we're so well known for our dairy industry. And to be honest, that facility up there, if you haven't been recently, please do yourself a favour and go and have a look. It's continuing to grow. The volunteers are amazing, and it really is opening up the eyes of many, I think, visitors, particularly to the region when they come and they go and visit there and have a whole new appreciation for this local land. The relationship that the Dairy Theme Park have with the other local lessees up in that, what we call the Racecourse Reserve precinct, is a credit to all those user groups. They really do work in together to try and support each other when they have their open days and their activities on, to try and get the best for each of those user groups. So Progress in Cobden obviously auspice the Dairy Theme Park. So yeah, it's great that we can lock that in for them for another 5 years and just give them some assurity around their future as well.
Thanks, Councillor Beard. Anything further, councillors? All in favour? Carried. Item 9.8 is unlocking housing Timboon Stage 1, notice of intention to sell land at 5, part of 5 and 17 Curtis Road, Timboon. Mr Moyne, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you I present Council with this report regarding unlocking housing Timboon. Report's presented for Council to proceed with giving public notice of its intention to sell land in accordance with the Local Government Act at Part 5 and 17 Curtis Road, Timboon. Any sale of land by Council is conditional upon obtaining planning approval and the registration of titles associated with the Stage 1 subdivision, which will create 8 new residential lots fronting Curtis Road. Before Council proceeds to sell land, public notice must be given for a period of 4 weeks in accordance with the Local Government Act and consistent with Council's sale of buildings and land policy and community engagement policy. Public notice to indicate Council's intention to sell land is the next formal step in this project and will be undertaken concurrently with planning approval processes. No sale of the land can occur until valuations have been obtained and the planning permit and title registration has occurred, as I mentioned. Many of the recommendations before you.
Thanks, Mr Moyne. Councillors, someone like to move this recommendation? Councillor Macon. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Vogels. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, I feel like every month we're talking about unlocking Timboon, which is just great. It just continues to roll on and progress, which is what we're here for again tonight. And to ensure the momentum remains in the project for councillors, the landowner and the developer, it is important that early decisions are made to deliver project efficiencies and outcomes over the next 3 to 6 months. Commencements of the public notice for the sale of the land of this work program and before pre-sales and marketing are undertaken later in 2023. We have consulted the community reference group and they're more than happy to keep continuing down this path of putting a 10-lot subdivision and comprising of 8 new residential lots. I do have a continued question being asked by the community, and if I may, Mr Moyne or Miss Lindley, whichever would like to take the question. There is currently a house sitting on one of the blocks that is looking to be subdivided off. What is happening with the house, and can you please inform us what is going on with it, please? Either.
Thank you. Mrs Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Maker, for the question. Yes, there is a property located at 17 Curdy's Road. It's a weatherboard hardy plank structure. So we are intending to place that for a notice of disposal in the local papers within the month. We're currently preparing the notice of disposal and for people, offering for people to purchase and take and remove that structure. So that will happen in the next month.
Thank you very much for that. It is just on everyone's minds that that is something that needs to be dealt with before we continue on with this subdivision. So more than happy to support the recommendation, and hopefully this makes us one step closer to putting a shovel in the ground and hopefully turning some soil. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Kate's covered it well. Also, thanks to Justine, Lily and her team that have just been above and beyond putting in hard to get this to the position it's at now. Be good to get some house blocks on the market, and I had a meeting with Tompkinson a couple of weeks ago, I guess. We went for a walk over the land and had a look at where they were situated, and I'm pretty sure it'll move very quick and we'll be on to stage 2. So it'll be good to get stage 1 up and into the market. So that's.
Thanks, Councillor Vogels. And I think, as you know, Councillor Macon, you said we continually having this brought to us, but that's a good thing that the project is moving along. Councillors, nothing further. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.9 is the Timboon Precinct Plan. Mr. Moyne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you again, I present Council with this report on the Timboon Precinct Plan. The report presents an outline of the project scope for the project and seeks approval for a budget variation to enable its delivery. The Timboon Precinct Plan is a strategic project which will deliver an urban design and placemaking framework on public land within Timboon Town Centre, enhancing community and user amenity, facilitating infrastructure investment and future use and tourism opportunities. The driver to prepare the precinct plan arises from positioning Simpson and Timboon 2020, grow and prosper Corangamite, as well as strong community and user interest in the support of growth, the use and enhancement of the public environment and facilities. The precinct plan will provide a vision, direction and actions for implementation that will enhance the environment and support business, community use and attract greater cultural and tourism opportunities. A consultation program will be developed involving community visioning and a collaborative approach with all stakeholders. In addition to that, a project reference group will also be established to provide project input and guidance. A project brief has been prepared and the project will be delivered using existing council resources whilst obtaining some professional input into the project around urban design, placemaking and landscape planning. A budget variation of $80,000 is proposed in Council's 2023-2024 budgets to undertake the projects. The Mayor, the recommendations provided before you.
Thank you, Mr. Moyne. Councillors, someone happy to move this recommendation? Councillor Macon, do I have a seconder? Councillor Vogels. Thanks, Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. The Timboon Precinct Plan will provide a vision, direction and implement actions to enhance Timboon's public environments to support businesses, encourage community use and attract greater culture and tourism investment, which is just what the town needs. Timboon is also positioned in a strategically significant location between the trailheads of the Camperdown Timboon Rail Trail and the 12 Apostles Trail, providing a key stopping point and destination along the trail journey between Camperdown and Port Campbell. So it will be a very important stop halfway along, that's for sure. And we need to capitalise on this. And over the past 5 to 10 years, Council's delivered investment in the public improvements and town centre upgrades to make Timboon a more pedestrian focused and improved and amenities. More recently, we've had the Tracks community event, which has been great. There's been talk about a cycle pump track being proposed, stage shelter over the existing amphitheatre, and the public toilets have been identified as something that needs to be looked at and reviewed. Other projects that have been emerged, such as a proposed bridge across the Powers Creek connecting both the Timboon Ice Creamery and the distillery. And so having a Timboon precinct planned will help make all this come together and not done in a mismatched sort of way, and help it all just to join together and make it more smooth sailing along in that area, which is just what we need as a community and as a town. So, and the council plan for 2021 to 2025 commits to creating a connected and thriving community through the delivery of infrastructure and services that support population growth and new opportunities for residential subdivision and growth, which the Timboon Precinct Plan will help do that as well. And we'd love to have more activity and vibrancy within this town centre. So hopefully by having the Timboon Precinct Plan done and having the key stakeholders at the table, will help this progress along and make sure that Timboon continues to thrive and more visitors come and we have a great little area to celebrate in. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillor Vocals.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, Timboon's changed a lot over the last 20, 30 years. It's probably an area that wasn't used that much, is now seeing a lot of use. And probably one of the things that kicked this into gear mostly was the public toilets and looking at what's available to do with public toilets. And so if you want a crystal ball, this is the closest thing you'll get to a crystal ball for the future. The precinct plan will give us a vision and a plan that we sort of aim for. So that, like Kate said, the things aren't just haphazard in the wrong spot as you move forward. So I think it's timely that this gets done, and I think that variation in the budget to get this done is do it well. I strike while the iron's hot, and it's just a great thing for Timboon to see it move forward.
Thanks, Councillor Vocals. Councillors. Councillor Beard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the moving and seconding by Councillor Macon. And Councillor Vocals, I completely agree with everything they've said. I think as we've done various projects, particularly in Timboon, things are just coming to a head, and it makes sense to do the precinct plan. Obviously, it is a bit out of line with potentially what we thought we'd be doing, but I love that we've actually acknowledged that instead of just letting things happen, as I think Councillor Macon said, in a haphazard way or at ad hoc, this is actually going to provide a plan that as an organisation we can work towards and implement different projects and, in a strategic way. And the fact that we've got Kristen Wilkes, who's a contracted strategic planner, I believe, leading this project, I think we're really lucky to have someone of her calibre helping the stakeholders throughout this project. It is something that I think we weren't totally prepared for, in terms of the budget variance, but I love that we're actually identifying that we're better off to do it now and do it well, as opposed to going down the track and then perhaps spending money where we shouldn't or doing projects we shouldn't and getting things right. So I can see the value in having such a plan, so thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Beard. Councillors, nothing further, all in favour? Carried. Item 9.10 is the variation to the LRCI Phase 3 nominated projects. Ms Love, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, councillors, in November 2021 we endorsed a number of projects for funding under the federal government's Local Roads Community Infrastructure Phase 3. More recently, one of those projects is unable to be delivered due to scope constraints, and so nomination of alternative projects have been looked at to be able to be presented to the federal government, and a variation to that approved work schedule. It's proposed that the McNichol Street Long Day Care project, which has already received some allocation of funding, that funding be extended due to the current forecast expenditure exceeding the council's current budget. As well as the Derrinellum Transfer Station upgrade, which is a council-owned and ran facility. That this is a new project, but identifies some capital upgrades that will support access and movement for community during the operations of that facility. So, councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, is a recommendation rescinding the previous application and endorsing reallocation of funding to the two projects that Ms Love's just outlined. Someone would like to move that motion, please. Thank you, Councillor Cole. Seconded, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whilst it's a pity we're not proceeding with the original intent of the money, at least we are spending it on some worthy projects going forward. I note that none of these projects are new. They're all scheduled for works anyway, so we can bring them forward and actually do them a little bit earlier now that we have the funds to do them. So the money's still being well spent and used responsibly, just not on its original intent. So I'm happy to move that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. The LRCI funding is very, very important to our budget, and it is prudent to move to projects that are probably more tangible within this particular round. So we're happy to second the motion too.
Thank you. Further comments, councillors? All in favour? Carried. Item 9.11 is the Corangamite Moyne Library Service, the 12-month review. Ms Love.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, the new shared library management model between Moyne Shire and Corangamite Shire was established in July 2022, and so as such 12 months of operation have passed. The library service includes across the two shires 8 branches, 2 library pickup points, a library depot. But within Corangamite Shire we have 5 branches and 1 depot. The transition from the Regional Library Corporation to the shared service and the 12 months of operation have gone exceedingly well. Most pleasingly, the branch staff have continued to deliver an outstanding service to the community and have continued to build upon a strong supportive team. The statistics have been favourable compared to previous years across all the metrics in Corangamite, with more users, more branch visits, more programs, more program attendees, more members, more loans, more books under 5 years old, and it was all delivered within budget. A challenge has been the Library One card under Public Library Victoria subscription to provide a shared service for book supply. We had some delays with or some cancellation with that service during the 12 months. However, we're pleased that that's been reinstated and has been picked up favourably by our members. In the first year of operations, the library service has run a number of programs for early literacy, for digital literacy, and to support author talks and poetry reading sessions and the like. Councillors, the first 12 months have been probably beyond what we expected, and I'm very pleased to present this report for your information.
Thanks, Mrs Love. Councillors, someone like to move recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Certainly is a good news story. There seems to be more of everything in this one, and I know that the library transition is something that's been very dear to our Mayor's heart. Although it hasn't been without its challenges, but look, it's just going forward. Just reading this report, there's sort of new ideas already afoot. I just want to say a big thank you to Jared Wolf and the team that have worked on this transition and facilitated it for such an incredibly positive and successful outcome. And I think we're all feeling really proud of that, and that it's just been such a boon to our communities, and that it, obviously with the statistics that we're seeing, it's providing a lot of enjoyment and support in our communities. So it's a great story, and I'm really proud of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor. The alliance between Corangamite and Moyne for the library services is working particularly well. And I encourage everybody to go into the libraries and have a bit of a look themselves to see what is in there. It was just interesting this afternoon when I was walking towards briefing. I was behind a group of young people from the daycare centre, and I asked what the excursion was, and the staff told me that they were taking the students or the kids to the library. So sometimes libraries are seen to be somewhat old news, but it looked to me to be some very, very excited young children going along to the library, and I think it still holds a place within our society. So very happy to second this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillors? Councillor Beard.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much because I want to leave it for you, but I just want to say, as Councillor Canady spoke to, and even Mrs Love said, the numbers are pretty astounding. I think it's safe to say that we were nervous. We had the utmost faith in our staff and the employees that we're going to be part of the transition. But I mean, when we had our briefing recently, and to see the numbers coming back in such a positive manner, I think it's blown our expectations out of the water. So it really is kudos to the entire staff across both Corangamite and Moyne, and it's a credit to them. And even to see the way that modern technology is being embraced in our libraries, it's not just about going there and borrowing books anymore. It's about using the Wi-Fi and using the computer, but also having the librarians there to help people through being able to sign up for different things. With I think there was the energy. What was it? The energy rebate that people could get. And there's a lot of people, elderly people within our community, who have no idea or don't own computer technology to be able to achieve that themselves. And they can walk into a library and they've got that support by someone they know and trust. So all of that is really positive feedback. So it has warmed my heart, and I can only imagine what the Mayor is going to speak to about, because it is something that is very close to her heart too. So.
Thanks, Councillor Beard. And it certainly is close to my heart, and it was a big step, a big leap of faith that this council and the Moyne Council took in establishing their own shared service after Corangamite Regional Library Corporation was wound up the 30th of June last year. And it has been, as Councillor Beard said, the statistics are absolutely amazing. And, while everything's gone up, the number of loans, the annual visits, what's interesting is that Corangamite libraries have 7,500 registered library users. Now that's less than 50% of our population. So there's about 8,000 people out there who are not library members. We need them to join the library. Council invests a lot of money in our libraries. They're an amazing resource, the e-books, the audio books, as well as accessing the different programs that the librarians are offering. So if you're not a library member, please go and join your local library, and I think you'll be absolutely amazed at what's on offer. I'd like to echo Councillor Canady's thoughts and thank Mr Woff and his team. But I'd really like to thank our library staff, who not only did they transition over to a new library service, they also transitioned over to a new library system. And this is something that you would normally do one step at a time, but we threw our library staff in at the deep end, and there was a few hiccups with the IT in the beginning, but there's always hiccups with the IT wherever you are. They coped absolutely beautifully. So thank you to our librarians and our library staff, and also our readers and our borrowers for their patience during the transition, and also when we had some issues with being able to access Library One card. So I think we've got some clear air now for our library service, and I'm sure it's just going to continue to be a well-used resource by Corangamite citizens. Councillors, I'll put this to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 912 is the instrument of delegation, council to council staff. Mr Ray.
Madam Mayor, thank you, and through you. The purpose of this report is for Council to review its instrument of delegation to council staff, known as S6, instrument of delegation council to council staff. The instrument delegates powers conferred on Council by many acts of Parliament and other legislative requirements, as Council is only capable of making decisions by resolution, it therefore delegates various powers, duties and functions to council staff to enable day-to-day decisions to be made. There's been a review of the instrument of delegation that's to reflect changes in the Planning and Environment Act. Mayor, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, someone like to move this recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Canady. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Mayor. I've nothing to say to this. It's purely a procedural matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Macon?
No, nothing further,
Same.
thank you.
Councillors, I'll put it to a vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.13, the Quick Response Grants allocation for August 2023. Thank you, Mrs Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is to consider the August 2023 allocation of funds as part of the Quick Response Grants program. The program supports instances of community need that are not readily able to be considered under other grant programs operated by Council. Applications for Quick Response Grants are considered as they are received and are assessed against criteria including eligibility, alignment with the council plan, benefit to the community and eligible expenditure. Madam Mayor and Councillors, officers have received applications from the Camperdown Community House, the Camperdown Little Athletics Incorporated, the Darlington Mechanics Institute Hall, the Darrenellum Bowling Club Incorporated, the Camperdown Golf Bowls Club, the Terang RSL, the Heytesbury Princetown Storm Cricket Club, and the Corinda Terang. The Corinda Terang application is unfortunately ineligible for funding and is therefore not recommended. The remaining officers' recommendations are before you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs Lindley. Councillors, there's a recommendation to fund 7 applications. Someone like to move that motion, please? Councillor Cole, seconded by Councillor Beard. Thank you. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've moved this before and I've done it again. It's a good thing. It's money, quick response grants. It's spread across the Shire, which is a great thing to see, from Terang, Camperdown, Darlington, Darrenellum, and down to Heytesbury, Princetown, to do various different things. As we've said a lot of times, it's money for a quick response for a small amount of money to help things function and make things improve. And having said that, they're not funded retrospectively, and we do like people to shop within the Shire if possible. Not always possible, but 99% of the time we would like you to shop within the Shire as much as possible to fund these small grants. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Councillor Beard.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, and completely agree with Councillor Cole. He always speaks to it so eloquently, so thank you. Very committed to his quick response grants. I think our communities have certainly become dependent on these, which is wonderful. They see them as an opportunity to, I guess, obtain some grant funding outside of our usual yearly grants programs, which can often not be at the right time when they need them. I think it's appropriate though to just mention that we are doing a review of this policy. As time's gone by, we often find ourselves questioning some of the, not so much the applications, but the fine lines around the applications. And so I think we as a council are going to be, you'll be seeing that come to the council table, because I think we can improve it for the betterment of all our community. And somewhat streamline it to make it a little bit more transparent as well and user friendly. So, and enabling hopefully even more community groups to be able to benefit from such a program. But as I keep saying all the time, I just think it's a program. It's such a great program, but we want it to stay. We want everyone to benefit, whether that be local businesses, so local organisations supporting local businesses, and in turn then they support them back. So I'm really looking forward to reviewing the next policy surrounding this program and seeing what we can come up with to make sure that we can make it even better than what it already is. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Beard. Nothing further, councillors? All in favour? Carried. Councillors, we're now up to other business. Anyone like to raise any business at this point in time? Councillor Vogels.
I'd just like to raise a concern to council. So I'd just like to raise a concern about the prime agricultural land that's being impacted at the moment by the changing land use by stealth through the planting of trees. I'm aware, and I think we all are, that the significant land is being purchased and it's putting a great deal of pressure on the local wider community. And I'm concerned that we have businesses backed by foreign investment allocating $200 million, that's $200 million to buy prime agricultural land in the Corangamite Shire, and to be spilling out also in Des Moines and Colac Otway for the planting of blue gums, let alone the planting of pine trees, which is also on the agenda as well. What's more concerning is that it's been backed by major government subsidies. This distorts the market and puts pressure on our local agricultural producers and communities. And in my mind, this is going to pull about $75 million per annum out of our local economy. So with 25,000 acres roughly of prime agricultural land going into tree production, there won't be turnover from that back into the community. So this will lead to the loss of hundreds of jobs in the agricultural sector, and the flow-on effects through our towns, our local contractors, our vets and our suppliers will be huge. And this action by the federal government via the Support Plantation Establishment Program is funding trees and distorting the market with no economic benefit to the Shire. Now in the program that they're running, it says that it will provide jobs. And my main concern is that for us it'll be exactly the opposite. So thank you, Madam Mayor. Just raise that as a concern to Council and the wider community.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillors, is there any other business to be raised at this point in time? No? We don't have anybody with us in the gallery, but there has been a couple of questions submitted, Mr. Ray. A couple of that have come in. Do you want to read them through?
Madam Mayor, there's been a submission from Karen Quinn of Ocean Grove. An email has been sent to all councillors and asked that it be tabled at the council meeting, and that's in relation to governance and public questions. And Ms Quinn has asked that we ensure councillors and staff do not use briefings for de facto decision making and discussion forums, that council ensure en bloc motions are no longer accepted, and council keep meetings open to the public in person and enable the community to always ask unscripted questions or make presentation on matters to councillors and officers. Madam Mayor, I suspect that is on the back of the Operation Sandal report recently.
Thank you.
And in response to that, Madam Mayor, we will probably await further advice from the state government in respect to obligations on council, particularly in relation to matters of governance, but also matters around decision making, particularly when it comes to planning matters. And that will then prompt a review of governance rules. And some of those recommendations that are coming through the Operation Santa report are recommending that en bloc motions be not permissible in the future. So there's further work to happen, but it's certainly noted.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's been a further submission come in this afternoon from Helen Fleming, and that is in relation to a road in Cobden called Edward Street. That submission has been furnished to Director of Works and Services, Brooke Love, so I would ask Ms Love to respond to that briefly, if she may.
Yep, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, Council notes the concerns that have been raised by Mrs Fleming, and certainly that we haven't returned her phone call after a couple of weeks. We will make sure that a staff member does address those her issues and talk to her. There are some matters there that would require significant funding and will be required to be scoped and brought back to council for as a part of budget review.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, that concludes the meeting. We do have an item to discuss in confidentials, so I'll ask someone to move a motion to suspend standing orders, please. Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Do I have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Macon. All in favour? Carried. So at this point in time, I'd like to thank those who may have been watching the meeting online, and next month, on the 26th of September, Council will be holding their meeting in Terrain at the Rose Room. So you're most welcome to join us in person if you'd like to. Otherwise, obviously, live streaming will be operating. Thank you for watching.